thank you to Tom and to Sarah and to the organization for that event. I'm Dr. Mattia Nuti. As my surname says, I come from Italy. And I'm the Chief Executive Officer of International Tax Group, a company based in Ireland and Italy. We have office in the US and China as well. And we provide consultancies for companies in Medtech and pharma in the field of safety and quality. We try to understand the go-to-market barrier today. Few barrier because we have only 20 minutes to speak. First of all, the medical devices regulation 2020. The taxes intended on devices taxes, government taxes, regulation taxes as well. Funds and venture capitalists seek funds and venture capitalists, that's the topic. Distribution and market, regulatory hurdles, clinical trials, and I think the majority of the audience comes from United Kingdom. So what about medical devices regulation in Brexit? Nobody knows, you know, but we try to understand better. We go through which is the point, directive versus regulation. 9342 directives versus 7045 2017. Tom answered a question by email, said, you can focus on the differences between countries after the regulation come in force. I try to explain that with directive versus regulations. What is a directive? Directive is a legislative act that sets out a goal that all EU countries must achieve. However, it is up to the individual country to devise their own laws and how to reach these goals. What is a regulation? A regulation is a binding legislative act. It must be applied in its entirety across the EU. This is the answer. Regulation, no differences between countries. Some news from medical devices regulation. This is an hard deal. First of all, numbers. As you can see, the regulation is a merger of directive on medical devices and active implantable medical devices directive is a merge. For example, the wearers, there are 101 instead of 22 and 12. Definition are 71 instead of 13 and 7. And look at the pages are 175 instead of 43 and 20. It's a huge regulation right now. Other news, the introduction of EUDAMED, the introduction of UDI label. We will look these two topics on the other slides. The inclusion into the scope of products without medical purpose, like aesthetic products, and pharmaceutical on the border of medical devices and pharma. The introduction of strict rules for clinical investigation and alignment to the clinical trial regulation. We didn't have a regulation for investigation on Medtech. Right now we have referred to ISO 14155. The reprocessing, this is very interesting, the reprocessing of single-use devices is only allowed under specific condition under the permission of member states. European Union takes 4 years to evaluate this 17 article. Rules for devices produced in hospital to be used exclusively for its own patients. Another interesting view, this is the regulation implementing the opportunity of hospitals to create their own devices, the research and developer of own devices, and exclusively used for their own patients. That could be a very interesting field for hospital. The introduction of UDAMED. What is UDAMED? UDAMED is a data container. The data container will be an information system for exchanging legal information related to the application of European Union directives. Data related to registry of manufacturers, and so on, data related to certificates issued, modified, supplementing, and so on, and data obtained in accordance with the vigilance procedures on incidents or near incidents using electronic mail. What is EUDAMED system will be able to load, extract, and modify data, but users that can access to EUDAMED. Who will the users? We don't know right now. What is a UDI? UDI is another news that we have. UDI is intended to improve the traceability of medical devices throughout the supply chain by connecting all the information about each medical device through a digital information repository called UDAMED, as we said. It's a label including two codes. One code is a UDI-DI, the device identifier, a UDI-PI, the production identifier. It's very interesting to know that there is no companies in Europe that can provide the production of UDI right now in accordance with the regulation. So that could be a new market for companies. The roadmap. This is the official roadmap of the European Union for Medtech. In the second quarter of this year, we have the designation of one or more entities to operate a system of assignment of UDIs. This is the implementing of UDI. This is the roadmap of UDAMED. On the fourth quarter of this year, we have the definition of detailed arrangement necessary for setting up and maintenance of UDAMED. So we will see UDAMED on the fourth quarter of this year. And we are in 2019, so it's not good for us because UDAMED as a data container could be very interesting to see who will the user, which type of data can contain. So we don't know anything right now about UDAMED. Another role we explain here, and this is the PRSC, the person responsible for regulatory compliance. Right now, manufacturers shall have available within their organization at least one person responsible for regulatory compliance. And micro and small enterprises like startups, I think, spin-off from universities, shall not be required to have that person responsible for regulatory compliance within their organization, but shall have such person permanently and continuously at their disposal. There is no exemption for that person, and all companies need a PRSC. So it's a very big news for companies there, because big companies have to provide, to put on this role a person, and micro and small companies has to achieve this person outsourcing, so it could be very, very interesting. What about the Brexit? On 29 January of 2019, the competent authorities advised that UK will become a third country, as you know, and the CE certificates will lose their validity. This is only an exemption. The product will be considered placed on the market before 30 March, but it's the deadline before these days. The other deadline is 12 of April, I think, right now. It is physically manufactured and shipped within the supply chain, for example, in the distribution warehouse or the end user hospital. Products stored at the manufacturer's facility will not be deemed as having been placed on the market. What is an advice from BSI? That is, I think, the biggest notified body here in UK. BSI says, go to Netherlands. Take your office, go to Netherlands. Legal office, go to Netherlands to maintain your CE certification. Because we don't know nothing about Brexit right now, and they say, okay, we don't know, try to open a legal office in Netherlands and try to migrate your certificate to Netherlands. That's what from BSI. But which is the proposal? A proposal, the UK would become a new EU market, not recognizing from the EU Court of Justice. But British industry would manufacture medical devices and IVDs in compliance with the European requirements. That's the point. The purpose. There will be a mutual recognition agreement between the UK and the European for medical devices and IVDs. They will enable movement of devices between both markets without need an authorized representative. Notified body can remain in place. That's another proposal. The current competent authority in UK, MHRA, will remain in its supervising position. But which is the price of Brexit in Medtech? UK company will have to accept the authority of the European Court when it comes to an interpretation of the law without any negotiating power regarding this law. So if you follow the regulation of the EU, you have no negotiating power regarding this law. This is a proposal from the cluster Medtech Europe. A formal agreement of an extension of Brexit's transition period, which lasts to at least 31 December 2020, taking into consideration the challenges. Continued authorization in the EU 27 state member of medical technology CE marked by a UK-based notified body through a mutual recognition agreement. Implementation of a trade agreement and a convergence of regulatory frameworks. This is the purpose of Medtech Europe. But nobody knows about Brexit. This is only proposal. The distribution and market, we have two hands. In one hand, we have the technology transfer. In the other hand, we have the distribution. What is the technology transfer? What is the best solution to access to the market? No one knows, but what is a technology transfer? Two key determinants of effective technology transfer: the will to acquire new knowledge and collaboration and cross-pollination of ideas among diverse corporate, non-government, and government. And if you want to go to the distribution by yourself, I'm talking about startups or spin-offs or small companies that want to go to market with distribution by themselves. Less than 12% of medtech startups succeed to launch their product on the market because they only run out of cash. And we try to give you ideas to try the way of distributions. For example, terms and conditions. You must still order payment and after-sales services behavior through well-defined standard terms and conditions. That's very important. This can be done swiftly and can offer the prospect of some quick wins. The distributor discount structure. You have to know if your distributor is just a box mover, providing logistic only, or it's a real sales partner contributing to sales, marketing services. International price structure. You must consolidate and steer your contract and pricing activity among large international distributor group, large international distributors and not local. Channel management, you have to select the most suitable distribution partner to intensify and consolidate relationship and improve the coordination between direct and indirect sale. This requires a more long-term strategic view, but could be a great view. Another point is there are a lot of, as I said to Tom before, there are a lot of regulatory hurdles right now for Medtech. You have 2 deals in UK. We have no deal right now, but you have 2 deals. One deal is the transition period of regulation from 2017 on to 2020. The other deal is how this regulation will apply on Brexit. We don't know about that. We try to make a proposal or something like that, but nobody knows. So thank you for your attention. These are our contacts. If you have any question, please tell me. Not on Brexit, because nobody knows. I think Tom has a question.
I always have a question. But before my question, would anyone else like to ask Mattia a question about this area? No? My question is I guess, not a Brexit question.
Yeah.
But what you've highlighted is with the unique device identification database. And so for companies in the room that are developing new technologies, at what point do they need to start thinking about such details as, you know, the unique device identifier and so on in their development?
Okay, devices right now are regulated for IEC 60601 for the standard of efficiency and safety. Okay, and on the chapter 6 you have the label of the device yet. You have to see what this label needs. For example, classification of the applied part, the class of risk, and so on, the tension. But a new label you have to provide for. A new label with 2 codes. Nobody knows which format of this code, a QR code, a standard code, nobody knows. Because UDMED will be implemented on the 4th quarter of this year. So probably we will know on this period. But you have to provide another label to attach into your devices. Another label with 2 codes. One code of the identification of the device. The other code for the production identified. This is a very good, very big deal, because there are not companies right now that can provide this type of code or this type of label here in Europe right now, because there is one company in US and one company in Israel. But we will see what happens after. Okay.
My background is in the aviation industry, and modification management is a huge issue. The traceability is the same way as the traceability here. Is there a process for that kind of monitoring and management that changes with the product?
Yeah, and there would be a management for this for the process, but nobody knows, because the unique devices identification provides a traceability of the device, but the management of this traceability is up to the individual companies. The problem is only which type of code you have to label, okay? And which type of company can provide this type of label. This is only the problem right now with the unique devices identifier. Okay.
All right, thank you very much again, Mattia.
Thank you very much.
He's available for any further questions, I think, later on.